I occasionally play Doomfist, and I'm going to be showing you all of the techs I know in around about 8 minutes.
Many people have gotten to ranks such as Masters and even Grandmaster playing Doomfist with knowing very few of these techs, so by no means are they required to learn. But, and that's a big but, they do help to aid your gameplay by making it a little harder to predict what you're going to do for the enemies. I'm going to be remaking every one of my Doomfist tech videos in the upcoming future, because if you watch back on them, they're absolute bogus. So let's start with the basics and get progressively more difficult, okay? Starting with punch jumping. This is performed to utilize your rocket punch as a movement ability rather than a combat one. To perform this, simply jump whilst you are punching. This does not mean jumping whilst it's charging up, I mean literally as you're casting the fist. Once you have learned this, the next to learn is turn punching. This is to increase the unpredictability of your movement and to direct your punch jump to one of the sides. To perform this, perform a punch jump, but in between charging the punch and jumping at the end of it, look towards the right or left and then jump, and it will project your character toward your chosen direction. The next is a term called slide punching. Again, used for unpredictability against hostiles. Your punch will only connect with a surface if it is less than 45 degrees from the wall. So, if you aim just above 45 degrees against the wall, your punch will slide against it. The Headbutt Slam is, well, pretty self-explanatory if you do some reading. Jump and headbutt a ceiling, door frame, or any object above you for that matter, and your slam will slide along the floor, like a guppy in a bathtub. Another cool thing you can do is what is called a slide slam. Your seismic slam is supposed to travel in an arc motion, like so, when you use it, not in indicator form. When you use it going up or down an incline, your slam will slide along the floor, like in the Headbutt Slam. This is most commonly performed on stairs, and so is sometimes referred to as the stair slam, but that's pretty booky if you ask me. A pretty useless tech you can do with Doomfist is called an Uppercut Bounce. This is when you use your uppercut for movement purposes by colliding with a corner at the apex of your uppercut. Doing so will result in you being moved a greater distance forward. This can also be performed backwards if for some fucked up reason you wish to do so. A very common tech you'll see with Doomfist is bouncing. This utilizes Doomfist's punch jumping to collide with objects and bounce off of them to gain some serious vertical height. You can bounce off of many things, but usually things with sharp corners work the best. To do this, do a normal punch jump, but release your punch just as you're about to hit the object. A stall spot is a tech you can do with other characters too, but is a lot easier to do with Doomfist because of his fat hitbox and high velocity abilities. A stall spot is where you're able to get yourself wedged on a sliding surface, either between another sliding surface or a wall. This comes down to map knowledge mostly, so learn the spots that you can perform this in. Similar, but not the same, a balance spot is when you balance yourself on a sliding surface instead of wedging. To perform this, land yourself on a sliding surface with next to no horizontal movement, and now as you're slowly pushed off one side, counteract the force with an equal but opposite movement key, and keep doing this. A very common thing to do with your Meteor Strike is to use it to scale across large distances of the map, such as buildings and roofs, to engage from an elevation and reset your other cooldowns. Introduce the Climbing Meteor. Meteor Strike has two different modes, zoomed in, which is the standard mode, and zoomed out, which you can enable by holding right click or left trigger on controller, or whatever it is on Switch. By zooming out, you're able to scale up buildings and very specific parts of the map where you're able to scale up very high and surprise your enemies. A very common term you may hear is a diagonal punch, or diag with Doomfist. This is performed by partially blocking part of your rocket punch's hitbox to translate the momentum diagonally rather than straight. There are two types of diagonal punches, one where you fall into the object, a falling diagonal punch, and one where you jump into the object. Yeah, you guessed it, a jumping diagonal punch. This is a movement tech, and so it's usually comboed into a slam or uppercut. Just keep that in mind. Both the jumping and falling diagonal punches can be performed downwards too, but keep in mind you're blocking the top part of your hitbox instead this time. A tech called the Meteor Void is one that I don't even fully understand myself, but I'll do my best to explain. There is an interaction that happens with Doomfist when your meteor strike travels a very large distance before landing. It will slow your character down as you exit the meteor strike and land. This has two uses. One is that it stretches the meteor strike damage upwards. So instead of being the little circle of impact that it usually is, it's a very long oval stretching up to the sky. I don't know why, but hey. And secondly, if performed over the edge of the map, you can use one of your abilities to save yourself or even combo into a kill if you wish to bait your enemy. Okay, 3 more. A diagonal slide punch, as I call it, is one popularized by that one spot on Anubis. You know what I'm talking about. This tech is combining the diagonal punch and the slide punch, hence why I named it so. Jumping, then slide punching onto a slanted surface will push you up the surface at an ever-increasing rate. The longer your punch stays connected to the slanted surface, the more vertical momentum you'll gain going up. This can also be performed downwards, the same rules apply. A void spot is a gap between 2 objects on the map, too small for Doomfist to fit through, but too large for Doomfist's rocket punch to collide with anything on the other side. It'll look like you're just punching nothing, and looks the same from third person too. You may be thinking, okay you stupid clown, why are you showing me this? Because boom! This is called a super jump, and on some void spots, depending on the shape of the objects that make up the void spot, releasing your punch can have the same effect as bouncing off of the object. Please note that your movement input can enhance and or hinder the effects of the super jump, and that I also do not take any responsibility for any games you may throw whilst attempting to perform this. And finally, whatever the fuck this is. To my understanding, this is due to the slight slant of this object, and is sort of a mixture between a diagonal slide punch and a void spot, I think. By placing your crosshair next to this object and punch jumping, you slide upwards and gain some serious diagonal momentum from it. I couldn't really come up with a catchy name, the diagonal slide void spot punch. I'm gonna call it the Nepal void jump for now, but let me know if you have a better name for it, please. That's all the text I know for Doomfist that I could think of while script writing. Let me know if I forgot any, or if you have any further information that I didn't include. Be kind to one another, and enjoy your day, you fucking bitch.